The air was thick with the savory aroma of butter and roasted garlic, drifting out from the kitchen and settling into the open-plan living room where the low hum of the television added a gentle background noise. The kitchen windows were misted over from the warmth of the stove, while the soft yellow light overhead cast a golden hue that made everything feel cozy, almost like nothing had changed. This was the usual scene whenever Nathan came back. After a full month out at sea, he'd returned to the same familiar cycle they'd followed for years. In the kitchen, Lena moved like someone who'd done this too many times, stirring sauce, checking on the roast, doing her part without much thought. She always pulled together a decent meal for his first night home, not out of excitement, but because it was expected. Tonight's menu was his usual favorite: beef tenderloin, creamy mashed potatoes, and green bean sauté just right. Lena never bothered asking if he was hungry after the long flight. She just ensured there was food on the table, like checking an item off a list. Their daughters were upstairs, likely glued to their phones or half-finishing homework. They'd stopped bolting down the stairs to greet him years ago. Still, they knew he was back. Life kept moving when Nathan was gone, but he liked to think his return still mattered somehow. Dropping his duffel at the entryway, he rolled his shoulders to shake off the travel fatigue. The familiar sense of home wrapped around him: fresh laundry, a lingering trace of Lena's signature vanilla candle, an air that wasn't laced with salt or the stench of diesel. "Smells great," he said as he stepped into the kitchen. Lena turned briefly, forcing a smile. "Welcome back." She walked over, pressed her palm against his chest, and gave him a kiss that had more duty than affection, a far cry from the quick, distracted kisses she offered during offshore calls. He slid a hand around her waist, breathing in the moment, trying to re-anchor himself in the life he had built from the ground up. "Flight long?" she asked. "Same as always," he replied. "Worth it, just to be back." She gave a brief smile and turned back to the stove. "Girls are upstairs. You should call them down." Nathan ran a hand through his close-cropped hair. "Yeah, I'll get them." But he didn't move right away. Instead, he let himself pause, let the warmth of the room and the sense of being home wash over him. This was what all the sacrifice was for: stability, safety, a house that felt lived in. He'd spent most of his adult life stationed on offshore oil rigs. As chief engineer, his job wasn't just fixing machines, it was keeping the entire system functional. Every pump, engine, and generator depended on his skills. When something broke, he was the one who made sure it didn't stay that way. A failure out there wasn't a minor glitch. It could cost millions or even lives. His rotation was 28 days offshore, 28 days home. Sometimes he'd take extra gigs, traveling to other platforms, inspecting new builds, consulting on expansions. It paid more than any desk job ever could. That paycheck was the trade-off for all the moments he missed: birthdays, anniversaries, first school days. But the money was good. They had a lovely home in a quiet North Carolina neighborhood, shaded by trees and big enough for the girls to grow up with space. Not a mansion, but a solid 4-bedroom colonial with a big yard. They drove new cars. Lena had her luxury SUV, perfect for school runs and weekend getaways. He drove a black Ford truck, something reliable, built to last. They never missed vacations. When he was home, they made memories: ski trips to Colorado, Caribbean summers, even a week in Italy last spring. It was how he tried to make up for the time lost. His daughters never worried about money. Their college funds were untouched and secure. They had designer clothes, top-of-the-line phones, and never had to think twice about asking for something. To anyone looking in, it was a picture-perfect life. But it had a cost. Nathan had spent years convincing himself that providing was enough, that the time he gave up was worth the comfort he gave them. He believed they understood, Lena especially. That one day, his daughters would look back and realize what he gave up for them. As long as he kept coming back, this house would always be his home. He looked over at Lena as she moved around the kitchen. The clinking of plates filled the silence. Being here again felt right, like he was stepping into an old, familiar role. He wanted to believe nothing had changed, that he could just pick up where he left off. "Go get the girls," Lena said, tossing the words over her shoulder without looking at him. "They've been upstairs too long." Nathan exhaled and gave a small nod. "I'll go." He left the kitchen and made his way toward the stairs. The house was still, the kind of calm that settles right before dinner, when everything's just waiting. He took his time climbing the stairs, each creak underfoot a reminder of how long they'd lived here. At the top, he veered toward Ivy's room. The door was mostly shut, but light leaked out beneath it. He raised a hand to knock, then paused. Voices floated through the door. Muffled at first, then clearer as he stepped closer. I just wish she'd stop lying, came Stacy's voice, sharp, fed up. Nathan's brow furrowed. She's not lying, Ivy replied defensively. She's just waiting for the right moment. The right moment? Stacy gave a sarcastic laugh. You mean when Dad finally catches on? When he walks in and sees them? Or when Jason decides he's done sneaking around? Nathan's hand curled into a loose fist at his side. You don't get it, Ivy snapped. Mom's actually happy with him. You think she lights up when Dad's home? She's drained, always faking it. He barely exists to her anymore, Stacy said, her tone icy now. She's already moved on. She just hasn't changed her last name yet. Silence followed. Then Ivy let out a breath. You act like she's the villain. Like she's cheating on some perfect husband who's always here, always trying. Dad's never around? Stacy. He's just a visitor in this house. That's not on him, Maya shot back, her voice low and fierce. Dad busts his ass for us, for this house, for everything we have. What do you think paid for your car? Your tuition? You think Jason's going to pick up that tab? Ivy gave a sharp laugh. Jason's already done more for this family in the past few years than Dad has in a decade. Nathan felt his heartbeat pounding in his ears, each word slamming into him like a wave. Oh, I see it now, Maya snapped, voice rising. You defend him because he throws you gifts, because he patched up your car. That's all it takes. Ivy hesitated, just a breath too long. So what? She said finally, bristling. At least he gives a damn. Maya scoffed, the sound harsh. Sure, that's real love, buying you off like a customer. Ivy's voice turned cold. You just don't want to admit Mom's already moved on. You're clinging to this fantasy where everything's fine. You're pathetic, Maya said through clenched teeth. And you're blind. Ivy bit back. Total denial. The room fell quiet, but the tension didn't budge. Then, from beneath the surface of her rage, Maya asked, voice barely above a whisper but laced with fury, Does Grandma know? Ivy faltered. Yeah, she said softly. Nathan stopped breathing. I saw them there last month, Ivy went on. Mom was sitting on Jason's lap. Grandma walked in, saw the whole thing, and didn't even blink. She just looked away. Let it happen. Maya inhaled sharply. So Grandpa and Dad are the only idiots still in the dark, she said. Those words hit like a blade. Nathan staggered where he stood, the familiar warmth of home closing in like a trap. All this time, he told himself that being a provider was enough. That the sacrifices meant something, that money, memories, security, college would matter. But right here, in this hallway he helped pay for, with the scent of home still in his nose and the sound of his daughter's voices echoing through the door, he realized he was already out of the picture. They weren't waiting for him to come home. They were just waiting for him to wake up. He stepped away, every movement deliberate, almost mechanical. He moved silently, retreating back down the stairs like a man walking away from a crash site. Dinner was still waiting. So was the truth. He stopped midway in the hall, rooted in place, his pulse drumming in his ears. The cozy smells of garlic and butter, the faint sound of the TV, the golden light that once made the place feel safe, now it all felt staged. Like he had walked into someone else's life. A carefully constructed illusion. His daughter's words rattled inside his skull. Mom's already made her choice. Jason's done more for us than Dad has in years. Grandma saw it and didn't say a word. The only ones left in the dark are Grandpa and Dad. His gut twisted. The betrayal wasn't loud or violent. It was silent, slow. Everyone, his wife, his girls, even his mother, had seen it unfolding. And they just watched. No one had said a word. They'd let him come home, kiss his wife, call his daughters down for dinner, all while pretending. He took a sharp breath, trying to steady himself. Part of him wanted to storm into that room, slam the door open, demand an explanation. Make them say it all to his face. But what would that change? The choice had already been made. He was no longer part of this family's real story, just a guest star in their routine. Turning from the door, he made his way down the stairs like a man walking through fog. Each step felt heavier than the last. But what stuck with him wasn't just the betrayal, it was the name they kept repeating. Jason. Of all people. He gripped the railing tightly as the memories returned in full force. Jason wasn't just anybody. He was family. Nathan's stepbrother. His cousin. The kid his parents had taken in when no one else would. Nathan had been 10 when Jason came into their lives, a fragile, pale boy with tangled blonde hair and eyes that never met yours. A shadow more than a sibling, following Nathan silently through the house. Jason's mother, Nathan's aunt, was hooked on heroin, drifting from trailer park to trailer park until she finally overdosed in a gas station bathroom. His father? Just another ghost, some junkie who vanished before Jason ever had a chance to remember him. Nathan's parents took Jason in without a second thought. They never talked about it much, but there was always this weight in how they treated him, a mix of guilt and pity, like they were trying to cleanse the sins of someone else's failure. And Nathan? He'd never resented it. Jason was his little brother. They played together, fought over toys, built forts in the yard, rode bikes until the sun disappeared. But then real life started. Nathan left for college at 18, mechanical engineering at a state school. It wasn't elite, but it was enough. His parents had scraped everything together to make sure he had a shot at something better. Jason got what was left. There wasn't much. By the time Nathan graduated and started his offshore career, Jason was stuck in community college, studying auto repair. Not because he lacked talent, he was smart, capable, but because there was no money left to send him anywhere else. Nathan saw it, felt it. Their parents tried to compensate, bought Jason some tools, let him live at home rent-free, but it never matched what Nathan had received. The resentment was never spoken aloud, but it hung there, between them. Still, Nathan had never doubted him. Jason was the one constant in their lives. The one who stayed behind when Nathan left. The one who helped Lena with the leaky faucet or picked up the girls when they were sick. He was there. Nathan never once suspected anything was wrong. Why would he? Jason was blood. Family. Trusted. When Jason struggled financially, Nathan didn't hesitate. He did what any older brother would. He helped. Lent him $20,000 so he could open his own auto shop. A dream Jason had talked about for years. That shop never opened. The business never even got off the ground. It collapsed before Jason could make anything of it, and the $20,000 Nathan had loaned him vanished along with the dream. Nathan had never asked for repayment. He hadn't even considered it. He told himself it didn't matter, that Jason pulled his weight in other ways. Always around. Always helping. Always showing up. But now, sitting alone in the living room, Nathan's hands clenched into fists on his knees, he finally saw things for what they were. Jason hadn't been helping. He'd been leeching. And Nathan had let him. He'd opened the door and practically invited him in. Why? Because he trusted him. Because he never once saw Jason as a threat. But now? Now Jason had taken it all. His spot at the table. His connection to his daughters. His wife. Every inch of Nathan's life, eroded from within. And one question gnawed at him. A thought that had been lingering in the corners of his mind for years but never asked out loud. Why had Jason never started a family of his own? He had the charm. He wasn't hard on the eyes. Women liked him. He had that easy laugh, that smooth, likable way of slipping into people's good graces. So why had he never committed? Why no long-term girlfriend? No kids? No real attachments? Was it that he didn't want that kind of responsibility, or because he never needed it? Had Jason been circling Lena all along, patiently waiting for the right moment to slide into Nathan's place? Or had this always been the plan? There had been times, late at night, lying awake offshore, when Nathan wondered vaguely if Jason was even interested in women. Not that it mattered to him. Not really. But the thought had floated past more than once. No girlfriend. No dates. Never brought anyone home. Never even a casual mention. Had Nathan simply missed the signs? Or had Jason been playing the long game this whole time? Nathan ground his teeth, the weight of it all pressing down on his chest. While he'd been focused on earning, on providing, on building a future, Jason had been slipping into the spaces he left behind. And now? Now Nathan had no clue what the hell he was supposed to do. He wandered back downstairs, barely aware of his steps, his mind spinning. He couldn't even remember why he'd gone upstairs to begin with. When he reached the kitchen, Lena was rearranging plates, the clink of ceramic punctuating the thick air. She glanced at him. "You didn't call the girls?" Nathan blinked, disoriented. He'd completely forgotten. Before he could reply, Lena gave an impatient sigh and wiped her hands on a towel. "I'll get them." Her voice held no warmth, just fatigue. She stepped away and called up the stairs. "Girls, dinner." Nathan felt something not tight in his chest. He wasn't ready. Not for this. A minute later, the girls came down. Ivy was composed as ever, calm and unreadable. Stacy stomped behind her, already irritated, clutching her phone like it had personally offended her. She dropped into her chair with exaggerated force, arms crossed in defiance. "Took you long enough to get home," she muttered. Nathan stiffened. "What? You're never here?" she snapped, eyes meeting his now, glossy with emotion. "And now you are, and you're just sitting there like you'd rather be anywhere else." Lena sighed from the counter. Stacy, don't do this right now. No, I'm serious, Stacy's voice cracked. What's the point of working all the time if you're never around to be a father? Ivy tensed beside her. That's not fair. Oh, please, Stacy shot back. You always defend him. Because he's busting his ass for us. Ivy snapped. You think the mortgage pays itself? You think your shopping trips, your car, just appear out of nowhere? Stacy turned back to Nathan, her expression tight, eyes shining with angry tears. I wish I had a different dad. The words hit harder than any storm offshore. The room froze. Even Lena looked momentarily stunned before she moved in to smooth it over. All right, that's enough, she said, tone clipped. Let's all take a breath. But the damage was done. Stacy shoved her chair back and disappeared down the hall without another word. Nathan stared at the untouched food on his plate. His stomach churned. Lena rubbed her temples, letting out a tired sigh. Teenagers. It's hormones, Nathan. She didn't mean it. But she had. Every syllable. Across from him, Ivy's hands were tied around her fork. Her cheeks were still flushed from the fight. She hesitated, then spoke gently. Dad, you know she doesn't really hate you, right? Nathan nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. A lie he could barely sell. Ivy didn't look convinced. The rest of the meal dragged on in strained silence. Forks scraped against plates. No one made eye contact. After dinner, Nathan stood and pulled out his phone. He stared at it for a second, then sighed like something urgent had just come in. Lena raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? He frowned, still looking at the screen. It's work. Something came up. She frowned too, this time with more irritation than concern. You just got home. I know, he said, shaking his head. They need me back. Just for a couple days. Lena gave a resigned sigh. Not surprised. Not upset. Just annoyed. Well, that's inconvenient. But I guess you can't exactly say no, can you? From the living room, Stacy muttered, of course not. Nathan didn't respond. He just said, I'll go pack. But instead of heading to the airport, he drove out past the city limits and pulled into a dingy motel. Nothing fancy. Just quiet. He needed time. Space. A place where he didn't have to pretend. The next morning, he made his first real move. He called a lawyer. Sitting stiffly in a worn leather chair, Nathan kept his hands clasped tightly, his jaw locked in place. Across from him, Miles Drexler leaned back, clicking his pen against a legal pad. He had the look of a man who'd heard too many dirty secrets to be surprised by any of them. Okay, Miles said, flipping open his notebook. Let's start at the beginning. You think your wife's cheating? Nathan let out a breath. I don't think. I know. Miles raised an eyebrow. With your stepbrother? Nathan gave a single, weighted nod. Miles gave a low whistle. That's brutal. He leaned forward, pen poised. All right, Nathan. Let's get into the numbers. What are we working with? Nathan rubbed his forehead, trying to keep it together. I make about 300 grand a year. Miles nodded and scribbled. Chief engineer? Offshore? Yeah. 28 days on, 28 off. Been that way for years. Good income, Miles said. Let's talk assets. House. Paid off, Nathan replied. Worth around $850. Miles's brow lifted slightly. Nice. Savings. $500,000, Nathan said. Retirement. About $750. Miles clicked his pen again. Okay, he said. We've got a lot to work with. College funds. Miles asked, already jotting notes. 2 accounts. 100,000 each, Nathan replied. Miles nodded, writing quickly. Good. Vehicles. I've got a black Ford truck. Lena drives a luxury SUV. It's in my name. Miles glanced up. That's what I like to hear. If she wants to keep it, she'll have to give something up in return. That lit a small fire in Nathan's chest. Control, faint but present. Any debts? Miles asked, his voice neutral. Nathan's jaw flexed. I loaned Jason 20 grand. Supposed to be for a business. Miles's pin froze in midair. You're kidding. Nope, Nathan said bitterly. Figured he'd pay me back once he got things rolling. But he didn't. Doesn't even acknowledge it anymore. Miles barked out a dry laugh. Let me guess. No contract. Nathan exhaled. No contract. Jesus, Miles muttered. That money's gone. You'll never see a dime. Figures, Nathan grumbled. Miles turned the page in his notepad. Okay, now we get to the fun part. North Carolina's an equitable distribution state. That doesn't mean a straight 50-50 split. It means fair, which is whatever a judge decides that looks like. Nathan's gut tightened. She didn't earn any of it. Doesn't matter, Miles said flatly. Legally, anything earned during the marriage is joint property. Nathan ground his teeth. How do I keep her from taking half of everything I worked for? Miles leaned forward, his gaze sharp. You prove she cheated. Nathan's brow furrowed. That actually changes things. Oh, absolutely, Miles said. North Carolina still recognizes marital misconduct. If we can show she had an affair, it seriously weakens her case for alimony. And depending on the judge, it can affect how everything else gets divided too. That flipped a switch in Nathan's brain. He straightened, focused. What do I need to prove it? Evidence, Miles said simply. Solid stuff. Text messages, emails, hotel receipts, photos, bank statements. Anything that shows they were involved. Suspicion doesn't cut it. You need undeniable proof. Nathan nodded, slow and deliberate. I can get that. Good, Miles said. But even if it's not airtight, we've got other ways to protect you. Nathan leaned forward. Like what? Miles began listing them off like checkboxes on a tactical playbook. First, your retirement accounts. Start funneling more money into them. It's harder to divide long-term assets if they're tied up the right way. Nathan raised an eyebrow. That's legal. As long as you do it before filing? Absolutely. Now, the house, you want to keep it? Nathan paused. Honestly, I'm not sure. Well, Miles said, if she goes after your savings, you fight for full ownership of the house. Use it as leverage. Everything's negotiable. Nathan nodded, running the numbers in his head. And the SUV? You keep it. It's in your name. If she wants it, she can trade for it. A small smirk crept onto Nathan's face. So, make her work for everything. Exactly, Miles said without missing a beat. Then he added, now, let's talk about Jason. Nathan immediately stiffened. What about him? Miles leaned back, expression unreadable. You aware North Carolina still allows alienation of affection lawsuits? Nathan frowned. That means what exactly? It means, Miles explained, you can sue him. Nathan blinked. You're serious? Dead serious. If we can prove Jason knowingly interfered in your marriage, you can file a civil suit. Emotional distress, loss of companionship, it's a real thing. Nathan exhaled, the idea catching fire in his mind. He's been in my house, he muttered. Helping my wife, driving my daughters around. I gave that man 20 grand, and now he's sleeping with her. His voice dropped lower, darker. Yeah, that feels like damages. Miles gave a knowing smile. Then we keep that option in our pocket. Nathan's thoughts were racing. So what do I do now? You do nothing, Miles said, his tone deliberate. You don't confront her. You don't accuse anyone. You play it cool. Keep acting like everything's fine. Meanwhile, you collect what we need. Quietly. Nathan let out a long breath as the strategy settled into place. How long does all this take? If she fights it, Miles said, leaning back, could drag out for a year or more. If she settles, maybe a few months. But if we play this smart, you walk away ahead. Nathan clenched his jaw, nodding. I want her to regret this. Miles's smile turned razor sharp. Then we do it right. Nathan wasn't going back to that house. Not yet. Not like this. He would treat this like another offshore deployment. Emotionally detached. Observing everything. Gathering data. For years, he'd been too busy providing to notice how easily he was being replaced. That blind spot was gone now. Now he was watching. And when the time came, Lena and Jason would pay for every decision they thought he'd never notice. Back in his motel room, Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, staring down at a few small objects lined up in front of him. Surveillance gear. Nothing fancy, but effective. 2 GPS trackers sat ready beside his phone, both already configured and synced. But it was the third device that really mattered. A tiny voice-activated recorder. Discreet. Durable. Built to run for days. It was perfect, small enough to hide inside a glove box or under a seat. Impossible to notice unless you knew exactly where to look. Nathan didn't just want to know where Lena and Jason were going. He wanted their words. Their voices. What they said when they thought no one was listening. Their thoughts. Their plans. Their real feelings. He wanted to hear the lies with his own ears. Just after midnight, he slipped out of the motel and into the driver's seat of his rented sedan. The night cloaked the streets in shadows, which suited him just fine. He stuck to side roads, familiar back routes, places where headlights were rare. His first stop was Lena's SUV. He parked 2 blocks away, just to be safe. As Nathan walked toward the house, his heart wasn't racing from nerves. It was pulsing with a quiet, white-hot rage. This wasn't reconnaissance anymore. This was war. Lena's SUV was exactly where it always was, lined up neatly beside the garage, like nothing had changed. The neighborhood was dead quiet. No porch lights, no movement in the windows. The stillness felt mocking. Nathan crouched next to the passenger side, slid his hand beneath the rear bumper, and pressed the GPS tracker into place, its magnet snapping into position. He checked his phone. A tiny blue dot blinked to life on the screen. One down. Now, the recorder. Moving slowly, he cracked the passenger door just enough to slide inside. The interior still smelled like vanilla, Lena's signature air freshener. It hit him like a punch. Too familiar. Too close to everything he'd built. He shut it out. Focus. He reached under the passenger seat, peeled back the fabric underneath, and tucked the tiny voice-activated recorder deep into a hollow pocket. The adhesive held it firm. Hidden. Silent. Ready. If they ever talked in this car, he'd hear every word. He stepped out carefully, shutting the door with barely a click. A glance at his phone. The recorder was online. Live. Time for Jason. Jason's apartment sat on the other side of town, a place Nathan had only visited a handful of times over the years. He pulled up a block away, scanning the area. Quiet. No pedestrians. No movement. Jason's black Jeep was parked right out front. Of course it was. Too easy. Nathan crouched by the driver's side, reached under the wheel well, and secured the second GPS tracker against the frame. He gave it a firm press. It wasn't going anywhere. Another check. His phone pinged. 2 blips now. One for Lena. One for Jason. Now, he didn't just know where they were going. He was going to hear what they said while they got there. Before turning back, he cast one last look at the apartment. The lights inside were on. Shadows passed by the curtains. He clenched his jaw and forced himself to walk away. Not yet. The next evening, Nathan's phone buzzed. The GPS signals had merged, Jason and Lena, together at a restaurant. He grabbed his keys, slid into his rented sedan, and followed the signal downtown. He parked across the street from a small Italian place, blending into the shadows. The restaurant glowed warm and inviting. Through the windows, he could see them, Lena and Jason, candlelight flickering between them, laughing, smiling, drinking wine like they didn't have a care in the world. Nathan's stomach turned at the sight of them sitting so close, heads tilted in, like they belonged together. Like this wasn't a betrayal, but a date night. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel until the leather groaned. That used to be his table. His wife. That should be his moment. Scenarios flashed through his mind. He pictured throwing open the door, walking straight to their table, grabbing Jason by the collar, and driving his face into a plate of pasta. He could already hear the shocked gasps, the plate shattering, the sick crunch of cartilage as Jason's nose cracked against porcelain. Or maybe he'd drag him out to the curb, slam him into the pavement, make him beg, make him feel the humiliation and helplessness Nathan had felt since the truth surfaced. But not tonight. This wasn't about rage. Not anymore. This was about strategy. He took a deep breath, let it settle him, and pulled out his phone. Click. Lena staring into Jason's eyes, that soft smirk on her lips, the one she used to save for Nathan. Click. Jason rubbing circles into her wrist, casual, intimate. Click. Their body language relaxed, open. Like they weren't even hiding anymore. Like Nathan had already been erased. His breathing was slow. Focused. Proof first. Revenge later. Inside, Jason signaled the waiter for the check, and Nathan leaned forward. Lena laughed at something he whispered, and then Jason casually wrapped an arm around her waist. Nathan didn't blink. They stepped out into the night, walking toward Lena's SUV, the same one Nathan had given her for their anniversary. Now, she was chauffeuring Jason home in it like it was nothing. His hands tightened on the wheel, the sound of the steering column creaking under pressure. Of course Jason had been drinking. She was driving him home, like a dutiful wife. They pulled out of the lot, and Nathan followed at a distance, weaving through the quiet streets. They took the familiar turn toward Jason's apartment complex. Lena parked in a dark corner of the lot, near the entrance. Nathan eased into a spot across the street, heart steady, fingers already moving. His phone synced to the hidden recorder. Seconds later, voices filtered in crisp and clear. Lena's voice came through first, tense. "We need to talk about this, Jason." Jason sighed. "Lena, we've talked about it already." "Not enough," she snapped, frustration sharp in her tone. "I don't want to sneak around anymore. This is exhausting. We need to move forward. Nathan's jaw tightened. Move forward? Jason hesitated. Move forward how? Lena let out a bitter exhale. We tell him. We tell Nathan the truth. It's over. What's he going to do? Nothing. He's a doormat, Jason. He didn't even notice for years. The word doormat detonated in Nathan's head. That's what she thought of him? That's how she justified this? His grip on the phone was so tight, he felt the plastic creak. For a second, he thought it might snap. Jason was quiet for a beat before replying, voice lower now. And the girls? Lena scoffed, like the question didn't even deserve airtime. They love you. They already see you as their real dad, Lena said casually, like it was some harmless fact. This won't change a thing. Nathan stopped breathing. Their real father. The words knocked the air out of his lungs. His insides dropped, cold and hollow. His hands trembled. For a split second, everything tilted. Jason's voice came next, shaky. Lena, they don't know. Not yet, she admitted, no hesitation. But we'll tell them. I've been planting the seeds for months. Nathan sat frozen, completely numb. Months. She'd been planning this, prepping her daughters, grooming the narrative. Maya's practically counting down the days till the divorce is final, Lena continued. And Ivy? She'll get there. Nathan stared straight ahead. The betrayal was no longer just emotional, it was strategic. Jason let out a slow breath. And the house? Lena's answer came quick. We'll split it. He can have his half. I'll take mine. He's never here anyway. He'll leave. He always does. Jason didn't respond right away. When he did, his voice was tight. I don't know, Lena. He's going to kill me. For the first time that night, Nathan smiled. A dark, quiet smile. Because yes, he could. He could kill him. The fantasy played itself out in vivid detail, yanking open the car door, dragging Jason out by the shirt, cracking his skull against the concrete until there was nothing left but silence. He could already hear Lena screaming. He could already see the horror on his daughters' faces. And for a brief, terrifying moment, he almost didn't care. But he didn't move. Because this wasn't about vengeance. This was about winning. Lena's voice softened. Jason, we don't have to lie anymore. I want this. I want us to be a real family. That word again, real. Nathan's chest twisted. A real family? Like he'd never been part of it? His daughters, his girls, the ones he'd worked night shifts for, missed birthdays for, built college savings for, they had already replaced him. Lena had already made her choice. Jason had too. They weren't wondering if they'd tell him. They were just waiting for the perfect moment. Then she leaned in and kissed Jason, right there, in the front seat, like Nathan wasn't parked just yards away, watching his life unravel. She got back behind the wheel and pulled out of the parking lot, driving Jason home in the same car Nathan had gifted her. Jason vanished inside, and Nathan remained where he was, staring through the windshield, his fingers digging into the steering wheel until his palms throbbed. They weren't scared of him. They didn't respect him. They thought he was weak, passive, the man who would nod quietly and walk away without a word. They were wrong. This wasn't going to end with divorce papers. It was going to end with ruin. At exactly 2 p.m. the next day, Jason left his apartment. Nathan was already tailing him. Just like before, Jason pulled into the high school parking lot. And just like before, the girls climbed into his car like it was the most natural thing in the world. Like he was their father now. Like Nathan had already been erased. They made their next stop at the beauty salon. Lena was waiting. When Jason stepped out, he didn't even hesitate, he kissed her. Right in front of the girls. That was the moment Nathan nearly lost it. But instead of exploding, he reached for his phone. Click, Jason picking up his daughters. Click, Lena sliding into the passenger seat. Click, the kiss. Each shot was another nail for the coffin. His revenge had just begun. A few days later, Nathan sat across from Caleb Brandt, his longtime financial advisor. You need to move fast, Caleb said, flipping open a portfolio. North Carolina's equitable distribution. If you wait too long, Lena gets half. Period. Nathan nodded, but his mind was still tangled in that recording. His girls, they might not even be his. Or maybe Lena was just saying that to make Jason feel secure. Either way, the pain was real. You still with me? Caleb asked. Nathan blinked. Yeah. What do I do first? Shift assets. Max out retirement accounts. Those are harder to touch. Then the college funds. You said 2 accounts, right? 200 grand. Yeah. Caleb gave him a crooked grin. Crypto. Nathan squinted. Crypto. Cold storage, Caleb explained. No fixed value. no paper trail. Legal, if done before the divorce is filed. Nathan exhaled slowly. That money, it had been set aside for his daughters, for their future. But if they weren't even his, why should Lena control it? Do it. Caleb nodded. Now the house. Refinance. Pull out as much equity as you can. Load it with debt. Nathan's brow furrowed. Debt? When she asks for half, Caleb said, she also gets half the liability. Nathan's jaw tightened. Good. An hour later, Nathan dropped a heavy manila folder onto Miles Drexler's desk. His divorce attorney flipped through the photos, transcripts, and GPS logs with raised eyebrows. Damn, Miles muttered. You weren't kidding. I want her to lose everything, Nathan said. Miles nodded. Adultery's still on the books here. This destroys her alimony claim. And the kids? Nathan asked, throat dry. Miles leaned back. That's the harder part. But if we show she's been turning them against you, like with the groundwork she mentioned, we can argue parental alienation. Plus the affair, happening in front of them? That gives us leverage. Nathan barely registered the words. His mind was somewhere else. He'd held those girls when they were babies. Bandaged skin knees. Stayed up through fevers and nightmares. And now? Now, there was a chance they weren't even his. He wasn't ready for that truth. Not yet. What if she brings up paternity in court? He asked quietly. Miles exhaled. Then we deal with it. You don't have to request a test. But if she tries to weaponize it, if she knew and kept it from you, she's in trouble. Judges hate deception. That bought Nathan time. Time to figure out if he wanted to know. Miles studied him. We can get everything prepped now. You don't have to decide how far you want to go. Not yet. But when you're ready, you make the final call. Nathan nodded slowly. He wasn't ready now. But when the moment came, when Lena and Jason thought they'd won, he'd be ready. And it would be his move that ended it. That night, Nathan sat in his rental car, parked just outside a rundown roadside motel. The flickering neon vacancy sign glowed red across cracked pavement and cigarette butts. The place reeked of smoke and secrets. It was the kind of place people went to disappear. Nathan had been parked there for over an hour. His eyes never left room 112. Jason's black Jeep sat just outside. Nathan had expected another secret meeting between Lena and Jason, but something felt off tonight. He sat in his rental car across from the motel, watching. At first, nothing happened. Then the door creaked open. But it wasn't Lena. A woman stepped out, mid to late 20s, tall, long dark hair cascading down the back of a tight dress that clung to every curve. High heels clicked softly against the pavement as she slipped into a leather jacket and glanced around like she was being watched. Nervous. Fast. Gone in seconds. Nathan just sat there, stunned. Not Lena. Someone else. A slow, bitter realization settled deep in his gut. Jason wasn't just betraying Nathan. He was cheating on Lena too. The irony hit like a slap. After everything Jason had taken, his marriage, his daughters, his home, it still wasn't enough. He was using Lena the same way he had used Nathan his entire life. He watched the woman get into her car and pull away. Without hesitation, Nathan started the engine and followed. He kept a safe distance, shadowing her quietly. She didn't go home. Just a few blocks away, she pulled into a gas station. Perfect. She got out and headed toward the store. This was his shot. Nathan parked beside her car and stepped out. She noticed him instantly. Her shoulders tensed. Eyes narrowed. What do you want? She asked, arms folding across her chest. Defensive. Guarded. I'm not here to cause trouble, Nathan said, keeping his tone even. I just need some answers. Her face didn't change. About what? Jason Voss. She flinched, just a flicker, but enough. I don't know him. Nathan sighed and reached into his jacket, pulling out a neat stack of $100 bills. $2,000 to talk. $5,000 for the truth. Her eyes darted to the money. She paused, lips pressed tight, then sighed and nodded toward her car. Get in. Inside, she stuffed the $2,000 into her purse without hesitation. Okay. Talk. I'm Nathan, he said, watching her carefully. Jason's brother. She stilled. Brother. Stepbrother. Grew up together. She exhaled hard, rubbing her forehead. Great. So how often do you see him? Nathan asked. She hesitated. 3 times a month. Same motel. Same routine. Nathan's jaw clenched. What does he tell you? She rolled her eyes. He says he's miserable. Claims Lena trapped him. Says he never wanted to stay. That she manipulated him into the relationship. Nathan felt the nausea twist in his stomach. What do you mean, trapped? She shrugged, irritated. He says he doesn't even know if the kids are his. The air inside the car turned heavy. Nathan froze. What? She looked away. Then, slowly, her eyes dropped to the money again. Nathan pulled out another wad. Make it 5 grand. She hesitated, lips parting. Lena gives him money. What? He drinks. Gambles. Lena pays for everything. He's basically her pet project. A kept man. Nathan's pulse thundered in his ears. She glanced away, her voice softer now. Honestly, that money Jason pays me, it's probably yours. He even joked once, said his brother's wife funds his fun. Something inside Nathan fractured. Jason was blowing his hard-earned money meant for family, on alcohol, gambling, and women, with Lena footing the bill. And she knew. His hands trembled from the rage barely held in check. You want out of this life? Nathan asked suddenly. She blinked. What? You've got a kid, don't you? Her eyes narrowed. How do you know? He nodded toward the console. I saw your phone. There was a picture. A toddler. Her throat bobbed. Yeah. So, Nathan pulled out another roll of cash, thicker this time. 15 grand. You walk away. Start over. Clean slate. Her lips parted. Her hands trembled slightly. Why would you do that? Because I need your help. She swallowed. With what? We set Jason up. She stared at him. Set him up, how? Nathan smiled coldly. We make sure Lena catches him in the act. They drove to an ATM. Nathan handed her another $5,000 in cash. That's for now. The rest comes when it's done. She clutched the bills like they might vanish. What do you need me to do? First, Nathan said. Next time you see Jason, get him talking. Use a voice recorder. We need him admitting what he's done. She nodded slowly. I can do that. Second, he continued, you get access to his phone. Text Lena. Send something that'll make her come to the motel. Make it believable. She hesitated. Nathan leaned in, voice lower. Think about your daughter. Do you want her growing up with a mom stuck in this mess? Her eyes glistened. She swallowed hard. Okay, she said. I'll do it. Nathan pulled a business card from his wallet and handed it to her. Wait for my call. I'll handle the timing. She took the card with shaking hands. Thank you, she whispered. Nathan gave her a single nod and stepped out of the car. As she drove away, Nathan stood in the dark, watching the taillights disappear. There was one truth he knew now, without question. Jason thought he was untouchable. He thought he'd already won, but he was about to learn just how wrong he was. The next afternoon, Nathan parked a block from Ivy's school. He shouldn't have been there. If life had gone the way it was supposed to, he'd be offshore right now, out in the middle of the sea, on a steel platform, doing what he was built for. Instead, he sat in a car outside a high school, a man stripped of almost everything. His wife, his home, his daughters, maybe even the truth about who they really were. But Ivy, she was the last thread he hadn't lost yet. The one connection that hadn't completely slipped through his fingers. If she turned away too, there would be nothing left to fight for. The final bell rang. Students began flooding out onto the sidewalk in scattered waves, shouting, laughing, bumping shoulders as they went their separate ways. Nathan scanned the crowd. Then he saw her, Ivy, alone, head down, glued to her phone, moving quietly toward the parking lot. He eased the car forward and rolled the window down. Ivy. She stopped mid-step, her whole body stiffening. Her head snapped up. When she saw him, her eyes went wide. Dad? She said, barely above a whisper, like she wasn't sure he was real. Nathan offered a small, steady smile. Get in, kiddo. She hesitated. Her shoulders tensed, weighing something in her head. Then, slowly, she crossed to the car and climbed in, shutting the door carefully behind her. The second she sat down, her hands began to tremble. She licked her lips. Why are you here? You're supposed to be offshore. Nathan exhaled. He had expected this. Ivy was always the perceptive one. Stacy floated with the tide, but Ivy questioned everything. And now, the pieces were clicking into place. I was supposed to be, he said. But something came up. She shifted in her seat, clearly uneasy, eyes fixed on her lap. I figured. Of course she had. She'd sensed the tension, known something was wrong for longer than anyone had admitted. But no one told him. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. I know about your mom. And Jason. Ivy inhaled sharply, her whole frame tightening. She didn't speak. Didn't look at him. Just twisted her fingers in her lap, her breaths becoming quick and shallow. You knew, didn't you? He asked gently. She let out a broken sound, then the tears came. Not quiet ones. not polite, controlled tears. These were deep, aching sobs. Full body tremors. The kind of grief that couldn't be hidden. Nathan's heart cracked. He reached for her, pulling her into his chest like he used to when she'd wake up from nightmares at 6 years old. His arms wrapped around her tightly. I wanted to tell you, she sobbed, clutching his jacket like she was afraid he might vanish. I swear I did. But it all happened so fast, and then Stacy, you. Sure, Nathan whispered, holding her tighter. I know. It's okay. No, it's not, she said, pulling back. Her face was streaked with tears. I should have said something. I should have told you. But Mom kept saying you wouldn't understand. And Stacy, she hiccuped, pressing her hands over her face. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to hurt you. Nathan swallowed, his throat tight. She wasn't to blame. She was a child, caught in a crossfire she never should have been near. He brushed a tear from her cheek. None of this is your fault, Ivy. She sniffled, wiped her eyes. Then finally, she looked up. But what now? She asked quietly. Nathan drew in a breath. This was his moment, the only one he might get to pull something back from the wreckage. I need your help, he said carefully. She frowned. With what? Reaching into his jacket, Nathan pulled out a burner phone, plain, old, untraceable. I need you to log into your mom's Instagram and Facebook. Do it from this phone. Then bring it back to me. She stared at the device, her face paling slightly. Why? He paused. How much could he tell her? How much should he? I can't explain everything. Not yet, he admitted. But I promise, this matters. Ivy bit her lip, staring at the phone like it weighed 1,000 pounds. If I do this, am I betraying her? She asked, voice cracking. Nathan inhaled deeply. That was the hardest question of all. Sweetheart, he said gently, your mom already betrayed me. And she's lied to you too. Ivy's lip quivered. I know, she whispered. I don't want to make things worse. You're not, Nathan said, squeezing her hand. You're helping me fix it. And I swear to you, when this is over, I'm coming back. And I'm never leaving again. She exhaled slowly, then nodded. She took the phone and tucked it into her bag. Okay, she said. I'll do it. The next day, Ivy slipped into his car again after school, her expression pale, hands unsteady. She handed him the burner phone without a word. Nathan looked at the login screen. Her job was done. You did good, kiddo, he said softly. She hesitated. Dad, what are you going to do? Nathan met her eyes. I'm going to fix everything. And this time, he meant it. That night, Nathan stood inside the faded walls of a low-end motel room, the stale stink of cigarettes hanging in the air. The carpet was worn, the paint peeling. But for what he needed, it was perfect. He'd rented rooms 114 and 115. One for Jason and Talia, the other for himself. It was the final piece in months of careful setup. On the battered table in room 115, Nathan had arranged the tools, a tiny pinhole camera, patched into a burner phone, a thin wire running discreetly through a vent into room 114, and his laptop, logged into Lena's Instagram and Facebook. With one click, Nathan could begin a live stream. He could broadcast Jason's betrayal straight to every person who followed Lena online. He remembered what Miles had told him. Collect everything. Don't speculate. Prove it. And he had. Photos. Voicemails. GPS logs. Confessions. But this was the exclamation point. This was public, undeniable exposure. From behind his laptop, Nathan watched the grainy feed as Jason entered room 114. Talia greeted him with a polished smile. The escort who had once just been a player in Jason's games was now working with Nathan, her loyalty purchased with enough money to change her life. Hey, baby, she said, her fingers brushing his shoulder as he walked in. Jason dropped a duffel bag on the bed and scanned the room, already wary. Talia coaxed him to sit. She placed a hand on his knee and smiled warmly. Rough day. Jason let out a harsh sigh, rubbing a hand through his hair. Lena's on me again. Wants me to make it official. Face Nathan. Have some big, dramatic moment. He laughed bitterly. Nathan's face stayed emotionless, eyes locked on the screen. He wasn't after drama. He was after closure. And he was going to get it. She thinks if she can push Nathan far enough, Jason muttered, rubbing the bridge of his nose, she'll get everything in the divorce. He looked exhausted, stretched thin, like the weight of his own lies was finally catching up to him. Talia inched closer, playing her role. And what did you want out of all this, Jason? He let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Hell if I know. I needed cash. That much I'm sure of. He paused, then added in a low voice, my gambling's gotten worse. His eyes flicked toward her, shame coloring the edges of his words. I'm in deep. Bookies. A loan shark or two. Lena's been bailing me out. She's using Nathan's money to do it, but... He sneered, almost proud of it. Not like I feel bad. Nathan's always had it all, good job, big house, perfect resume. Now he's unknowingly paying off my debts. Poetic, isn't it? In the next room, behind the paper-thin wall, Nathan sat perfectly still, jaw clenched so hard it ached. He'd known Jason was reckless with money, but this was theft. And Lena was enabling it with his income. But you love Lena, right? Talia asked, tilting her head, her tone carefully laced with curiosity. Love. Jason scoffed. She was lonely and had money. That's it. I never planned on playing dad to her kids. Especially since, he trailed off, I was drifting to the floor. Talia leaned in. Since what? Jason hesitated. Then, with a shrug, he said, I'm not even sure those girls are Nathan's. Lena keeps hinting it might be me. We messed around right after she married him. Nathan's vision blurred. He pressed a hand to his temple, heart hammering. They'd been together that long? Talia blinked. You never took a paternity test? Jason gave a half shrug, equal parts arrogance and resignation. How could we? Not without Nathan finding out. Lena says she's not sure either. Maybe it's better we don't know. Talia gave a sympathetic sigh, her tone low and sultry. That's a lot to carry around. No wonder you gamble. Jason gave a humorless smile. I've always been a risk taker. Just didn't realize the biggest risk was Nathan losing his mind and taking us all down. As he laughed, she spotted his phone lying unattended on the nightstand. This was her cue. Talia leaned in, trailing a hand across his shoulder to distract him. With her other hand, she slid the phone into her lap. She'd memorized the code weeks ago. A few quick taps, and she typed. Lena, come quick. Emergency. Motel 114. Don't call, a phone's acting up. Hurry. She hit send. Then switched on airplane mode, blocking any incoming calls. Lena would panic. She'd come running. And she'd find Jason right here, in bed, tangled up with someone else. It was perfect. In room 115, Nathan watched the camera feed twitch slightly, the angle showing Jason sinking into the bed while Talia touched his knee, keeping the act going. His heart pounded as he hovered his cursor over the live stream button tied to Lena's social media accounts. The post was ready, vague but damning. I have something to confess. Live now. He clicked it. The shaky feed lit up the screen, streaming from the pinhole camera hidden in the vent, broadcasting Jason and Talia to every one of Lena's followers. But then, a snag. Nathan reached for Talia's burner phone to coordinate her exit, but no signal. The plan had been for her to slip out just before Lena arrived, leaving Jason alone and exposed. Instead, Talia stared at the dead screen, biting her lip. Be right back, she told Jason, disappearing into the bathroom and locking the door. Footsteps thundered outside. Then Lena's voice rang down the corridor, shrill and panicked. Jason, what's going on? Open the door. Jason bolted upright, panic on his face. Shit, he hissed. Lena's here. Stay in the bathroom. He yanked the door open just a crack. Lena shoved it wide, nearly knocking him aside. She stormed inside, wild-eyed and breathless. Jason, I got your message. What emergency? I tried calling and your phone's dead. Her eyes swept the room in seconds, absorbing the rumpled sheets, the odd smell in the air. Then the bathroom door creaked open. Talia stepped into view. Her dress strap hung loosely from her shoulder, her lipstick slightly smeared. Lena froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came in, just a soft, stunned breath. Then her face changed. You, she whispered. Her voice dropped into a dangerous register. You're with her. Jason lifted his hands. Lena, wait, whatever you think. She exploded. With a furious screech, she lunged across the room, grabbing a handful of Talia's hair. You cheap, trashy, what the hell is this? Talia yelped and slapped her, instinctively defending herself. Lena roared and yanked harder. They crashed into the dresser. A lamp toppled and shattered on the floor. The live stream shook wildly on Nathan's laptop as the women fought, hair-pulling, clawing, screaming. Comments flooded the screen. OMG, what is this? Lena, is that you? Call the police. Jason rushed in, grabbing Lena around the waist and trying to drag her away. Talia staggered back, tears brimming in her eyes, holding the side of her head, where Lena had ripped out a chunk of her hair. Get off me. Lena screamed at Jason. She pointed a shaking finger at Talia. I gave up everything for you. And you're screwing a prostitute. Talia snapped back, trembling with rage. You think you're some saint? You've been lying to your husband for years. Lena's lip curled. You don't know a damn thing about Nathan. He was never there. Always on those goddamn oil rigs. Chose work over us. Talia spat, voice shaking. So you replaced him with this? A broke gambler who cheats on you, too. From the next room, Nathan could hear every word. His fury burned so hot, he could hardly breathe. He slammed his laptop shut and stepped into the hallway, each step measured and deliberate. The shouting led him straight to room 114. He didn't knock. He shoved the door open, and there they were. Lena, red-faced, hair wild, her cheeks still red from Talia's slap. Talia, pale and shaken, mascara streaking down her face. Jason, standing between them, hands clenched, chest heaving like an animal caught in the headlights. The room fell into stunned silence. Nathan didn't say a word. He didn't need to. His presence said everything. Lena's face went ghost white the second she saw him. Nathan, she stammered, stumbling back a step. God, I can explain, His voice cut her off, trembling with restrained fury. Explain what exactly? That you're shacked up here with him? Or that you just tried to rip out someone's hair on a live stream? Lena looked like her knees might give out. Please, she whispered. I was lonely. You left me alone for weeks, for months at a time. You never cared how I felt, or how the girls felt. We needed you, and you disappeared. Nathan's heart twisted in his chest. Old guilt, raw and familiar, crashed hard against the fresh betrayal. I worked to give you all of this, he said. Everything. The house. Security. College funds. I broke myself to provide for you. And you used it to pay off Jason's gambling debts? His voice cracked as the words left his mouth. You let him live in my home? Walk freely in my life. Jason stepped forward, posture defiant, but wary. Lena gave me the money, sure. But this is on you, man. You left the door wide open. You were gone more than you were home. It was easy. Easy. Nathan's fists curled at his sides. Easy to destroy my marriage? Drain my accounts? Poison my daughters against me? Lena collapsed into sobs, a hand flying to her mouth. I'm sorry, Nathan. I didn't plan for this. I swear. I didn't mean for it to go so far. I was alone, and Jason was there. Her voice broke. But don't pretend you were blameless. You were married to your job, never to me. From the corner, Talia had started inching toward the door, sensing the shift, how the tension had turned venomous, unpredictable. Lena suddenly looked between the two men, her eyes wide, her face streaked with tears. There's more, she choked out. Nathan went still. I don't know if the girls are yours, she said quietly. The words landed like a blow. He'd suspected it, even feared it, but hearing her say it stole the breath from his lungs. Lena trembled. Jason and we were together. A long time ago, right after the wedding. I got pregnant. I didn't know who the father was. Sometimes they look like him, sometimes like you. I told myself I'd figure it out. I kept waiting for the right moment. Nathan's entire body ached with tension, his chest rising and falling in sharp, shallow breaths. Jason's face changed. You never told me it was a real possibility, he said, his voice rising. You said you weren't sure. I'm still not sure, Lena snapped, voice cracking. I couldn't face it. I thought, if they were yours, I'd ruin everything by telling you. And if they were his, her eyes flicked to Jason. I thought maybe it was fate. You had no one. I was desperate. Jason's expression soured. You promised you'd keep Nathan in the dark. You told me you'd handle it. You didn't want to lose the house or the money. I never asked to be a father. Lena's face twisted. You needed me to pay off your bookies, Jason. You needed someone to clean up your mess. And I needed someone who'd actually be there. Nathan took a shaky breath. That's enough, he said, his voice sharp, low, and final. I've heard enough. He reached into his coat and pulled out 2 sets of legal documents, his hands trembling, rage barely contained. He extended the first set toward her. Lena Crowley, he said, voice raw. You're being served with divorce papers. Adultery, marital misconduct, parental alienation. I've got the proof. The affair, the stolen money, and now this, lying about the girls. Lena let out a wail that shook the walls. She grabbed the papers with trembling hands, falling to her knees as she clutched them, mascara streaking her cheeks. No, Nathan, please, she sobbed. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't know what to do. Nathan turned to Jason, pulling out the second packet. Jason Voss, he said, his tone iron. I'm suing you for alienation of affection. I've got everything on tape. Your confession, your role in turning my daughters against me, your affair with my wife. He shoved the documents into Jason's chest. Jason snatched them, eyes wild. You're out of your mind, he spat. You think a judge is going to make me pay for your messed up marriage? Nathan let out a low, bitter laugh. You've gambled your way into thousands of dollars of debt. Debt paid with my money. And now? You've helped destroy my family. And in this state, North Carolina? You bet I'm serious. Lena collapsed into herself, weeping. My life is over, she whimpered. My mother, my friends, the girls, they'll all see the live stream. Nathan calmly pointed to the discreetly mounted phone near the vent. It's still live, Lena. Her face crumpled in horror. No, no, God, no. She curled forward, her sobs turning raw and ragged as she realized the scale of what had just happened. You've ruined me, she screamed. Nathan shook his head. I didn't ruin anything. You did. You lied to me for years. Spent my money. Possibly lied about my daughters. You attacked this woman. He gestured toward Talia, still holding the side of her scalp, eyes wide. I just made sure the truth came out. Lena suddenly whipped toward Talia, eyes blazing. You set us up, you conniving little. Talia stepped back fast. Touch me again, and I swear. She raised her purse like a weapon, voice trembling. You already tore out half my damn hair. Jason stepped between them, throwing up a hand. Enough. He looked at Lena, then at Nathan. This is insane. I told you this would all blow up. Nathan's not stupid. He was never stupid. Nathan stared at them both, dead-eyed. Then he turned to Talia. You're free to go. She hesitated at first, still visibly shaken. Then, as she stepped past him, Nathan pressed a thick roll of cash into her palm. $2,000 more than he'd promised. For the trouble, he said softly. I didn't expect her to get violent. Talia's lips trembled. Thank you, she whispered, clutching the money like a lifeline. Then she slipped out the door, leaving the carnage behind her. Talia gave a small nod, her eyes shining with exhaustion and fragile relief. Thank you, she murmured. And good luck. Then she slipped out the door, leaving behind a scene of wreckage. Lena on her knees, Jason frozen in disbelief, and Nathan still standing at the threshold, trembling from the shock of it all. Lena looked up at him, her face streaked with mascara and raw grief. What about the girls? She asked, her voice barely audible. They might be yours. I don't know. Don't take them from me. Nathan's voice cracked. I'll get a DNA test, he said. If they're mine, I'll fight for them. If they're not, his eyes cut to Jason, who shifted uncomfortably. Then that's something you two can figure out. Lena buried her face in her hands, sobbing violently. Nathan, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to end like this. He didn't respond. After a long, loaded silence, he turned toward the door. There's nothing left to say, he said. From here on out, let the lawyers and the courts deal with you. With a quick tap on his phone, he ended the live stream. The damage was already done. Lena let out a broken scream behind him. Jason cursed low under his breath, and their world officially caved in. Nathan stepped outside into the warm evening air. The flickering neon vacancy sign buzzed above, casting a harsh glow across the motel lot. He leaned against the chipped railing, struggling to catch his breath. His whole body shook, not from rage anymore, but from heartbreak, from the weight of a marriage that was truly gone. Down near a dark sedan, a familiar figure stood waiting, Miles Drexler. His divorce attorney lifted a hand in greeting, concern written all over his face. That sounded brutal, he said softly. You all right? Nathan gave a stiff nod, though he felt anything but okay. They confessed everything, he said. The gambling, the affair, Lena's lies about the kids. It's all on video. And it went live. Miles drew a slow breath. That's going to be nuclear. He paused. Do you want me to proceed with the custody filing? The paternity testing? Nathan shut his eyes. Yeah, we test. I need to know the truth. And if they're yours? I want full custody, Nathan said. And if they're not? Miles asked gently. Nathan hesitated. The thought made his chest ache. I raised them, he said, voice tight. Whatever the DNA says, they were mine for 18 years. But I can't let them keep living in a lie. Miles nodded. We'll get it done. Across the lot, Talia was easing into a battered sedan, the one she'd bought with the money Nathan had given her. She caught his eye just before pulling out. Her hair was still a mess where Lena had grabbed her. Bruises bloomed across her arm. Nathan walked over. "I'm sorry it got so ugly," he said. "I didn't expect Lena to get violent." Talia offered a weary smile. "I've seen worse. Still, I'm glad it's over." Her voice cracked slightly. "Thank you for giving me a way out," she added. "If you need me to testify, I will." "I'm sorry about your family." Nathan's eyes burned. "Thanks. Take care of yourself." She nodded, started the car, and disappeared into the night. Back in his motel room, Nathan sat on the edge of the bed, phone lighting up again and again. The fallout was worse than he imagined. Lena's betrayal had detonated across their social circle. The live stream had gone viral within their community. Friends, neighbors, coworkers, everyone had seen it. And now, everyone had an opinion. Miles had warned him this would get ugly, but he hadn't expected local reporters offering him money for interviews. He shut them down fast. This wasn't a spectacle. This was his life. But what hurt most, what truly gutted him, was the fallout with his daughters. Ivy's messages were filled with confusion and pain. "Dad, please. Pick up. I don't know what to think." Maya's were colder. Angry. "I can't believe you did this. You ruined everything." Nathan exhaled slowly. Maya had always been emotional, easily led, quick to draw conclusions. And right now, he was the villain in her story. But Ivy was still trying to understand. Then came the test. 2 days later, he sat in Miles's office, the envelope heavy in his hands. "I want the DNA test," Nathan said, staring at the table. Miles studied him. "You sure?" "No," Nathan admitted. "But I need to know." 3 days later, the results came back. Neither Ivy nor Maya were his. Nathan read the paper over and over, hoping he'd missed something. A typo. An error. Anything. But the truth didn't change. They weren't his. Not biologically. He'd spent nearly 2 decades breaking his back to give them a better life, and it had all been built on a lie. Strangely, he didn't feel the rage he expected. Just hollow. "What does this mean, legally?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Miles leaned forward. "It changes nothing unless you want it to. You're still their legal father. If you want custody, we fight for it. If you want to walk away, you can." Nathan's eyes lifted, steady and clear. "No," he said. "I'm not walking away." A DNA test didn't erase 18 years of being a dad. When the case went to court, the judge showed no sympathy for Lena. The evidence was overwhelming: cheating, financial misconduct, years of deception. She didn't get alimony. No share of the assets. Nathan got everything: the house, the vehicles, the savings. Lena, stripped of comfort and credibility, was forced to move in with her mother, a woman who had known about the affair and kept it quiet. Her fall from grace was swift and humiliating. Nathan's alienation of affection lawsuit against Jason went even worse for Jason. With video proof, audio, financial records, and Jason's own admissions, the court ruled in Nathan's favor. Jason owed $250,000. He didn't have it. He was already drowning in gambling debt. Now, he was broke, jobless, disgraced, finished. As for custody, Nathan fought hard, despite the DNA results. He wanted to protect the girls from the lies that had wrecked everything. Lena, desperate, used every trick she had. She fed Maya the narrative that Nathan was the villain, that he'd humiliated them all. Maya believed it. "I don't care what she did," she said. "You destroyed our family." It shattered him, but he let her go. She made her choice. But Ivy? She came to him, sobbing. "Dad," she whispered, "I don't care what that test says. You're my dad." His chest tightened. He hadn't lost her. The court awarded Nathan full custody of Ivy. Maya, now 18, stayed with Lena. To celebrate, Nathan handed Ivy the keys to a deep blue BMW, her favorite color. She gasped through tears. "I don't deserve this." "You do," Nathan told her. "You're still my daughter." Lena, meanwhile, had nothing. No money, no house, no legal power. Her reputation in ruins. Friends had cut ties. Even her own mother barely tolerated her. Weeks later, Nathan got a text from her. "Can we talk? Just once?" He never replied. She'd taken everything from him: his peace, his trust, his family. She didn't deserve more. Jason fared no better. One night, Nathan got a message from an unlisted number. "You ruined my life. Hope you're happy." Nathan deleted it without replying. Jason had ruined his own life. Months passed. Nathan sold the house and downsized to a simpler, quieter place. No more show. No more pretending. It was just him and Ivy now. One evening, they sat together by the fire pit, the air warm, quiet. Ivy looked over, her voice soft. Do you regret it? Finding out the truth. Nathan stared at the fire. Then he nodded once. No, he said. The truth sets you free. Ivy nodded. What about Maya? She'll come around, Nathan said. He didn't know if it was true, but he needed to believe it. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the flames dance. Then Ivy smiled. Thanks for the car, Dad. Nathan chuckled. Don't crash it. I won't, she promised. Then, after a pause, love you, Dad. His throat tightened. He smiled through it. Love you too, kiddo. And in that moment, he realized something. He had lost so much, but not everything. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough.